This is a presentation based on the book Copyright Clarity by Renee Hobbs. My name is Chris McShane. The purpose of this presentation is to dispel confusion regarding fair use and copyright for educators. The purpose of copyright and fair use laws are not to scare educators, but to encourage responsible usage. Copyright is the owner's legal right to reproduce, display, transmit, or modify work they have created. The owner is the person who does the creative work. Fair use gives people a right to use copyrighted material when the cost to the copyright holder is less than the social benefit of the use of the copyrighted work. Fair use indicates that nonprofit educational purposes are favored over commercial purposes. Copyright law is designed to promote creativity and the growth of knowledge, but considering the rights of the owner and the user. At the heart of copyright law, the doctrine of fair use states that people have a right to use copyrighted materials freely without payment or permission for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a safety valve that prevents copyright law from being a form of private censorship. Without fair use, copyright law itself would probably be unconstitutional. Allowing owners exclusive rights and control over information would be foul. Dispelling misconceptions. Educators need to use reasoning and judgment when dealing with copyrighted materials. Under many circumstances, educators use reasoning and judgment every day in the classroom. It is smart practice. Lack of knowledge about copyright and fair use does not excuse its practice. Concepts of copyright and fair use require reasoning and interpretation of context and situational factors. Although copyright law is defined and enforced, there is a provision including fair use that is flexible and contextual. The rights of the copyright holder must be respected, as well as the rights of the user equally. Best practices are those that make the best of both sides. Teach the best practices to younger people and help them flourish into responsible citizens of the information age. Copyright law. Keyword law. Violating a law is punishable, and when dealing with copyright, it is no different. For example, in school, plagiarism, using work without giving permission, is taken very seriously. So give credit where credit is due. It's best practice. The best practices model enables creative communities to develop a deep interpretation of fair use. The Code of Best Practices offer a model for educators and students to assert the value of fair use in education. The key that unlocks the doctrine of fair use is the idea of transformativeness, that is, has the user added value or repurposed the work? Educators and students need to make that determination of what is fair use for themselves. That's what copyright law both permits and requires. Practical strategy. Educators need to use multimedia resources and content effectively to build these 21st century learning skills: creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. Content comes from computers. Teachers and students need to be able to access digital media as quickly as we've been able to do. A common misconception about copyright and fair use. If there is no charge for the information, there is no violation. It's wrong. If there is a charge, it will affect the damages awarded in court, the main difference under law. It is still a violation. If it's given away, there can be serious damage if it hurts the commercial value of the property. Another common misconception about copyright and fair use. If it doesn't have a copyright notice, it's not copyrighted. Before April 1st, 1989, it may have been true, but any work done after this date is protected whether it has a notice or not. It is smart to rule by default that the work is copyrighted. The copyright symbol is C with a circle around it. Another misconception. If stories are created by author B based on work by author A, the new work belongs to author B. Derivative works based on other copyrighted work is not allowed. Examples of this include fan fiction, which is created by fans of a story. Author's permission is needed to create a story using existing characters or settings. Another misconception. There is a major exception to derivative works, and that is criticism and parody. The fair use provision states that if you want to make fun of something, you don't need their permission. Creating a parody falls under fair use, and if you get sued, you can claim the copying was fair use. Another misconception. When using copyrighted material illegally, it's not hurting anybody. In fact, it's free advertising. It is up to the owner to decide if they want free ads or not. If they want to advertise, they'll most likely contact you. Regardless, asking an owner is good practice. Using copyrighted work to make something new. Andy Warhol and the Cannibal Soup cans. Gray areas between transformative and derivative works. Campbell's Soup labels have been designed, and he was just taking what he saw and silkscreened it. Art is always building upon, modifying, reworking other art. It's a nature of the discipline. Outside the USA. The fair use concept does vary around the world, country to country, and is named differently, but the idea is still the same. Regardless of location, the principle is still similar. These are guidelines when it comes to copyright and fair use that need to be followed. The guidelines all seem to fall into the reasonable category because of the flexibility and interpretation. Where's the original? An original document allows us to borrow, copy, and use material that's already been written for educational purposes. Original work that is legally produced in copyrighted work is known as a first sale doctrine and grants the user a few things. First sale doctrines give the holder the right to sell or give away the work without permission. Recap. Copyright and fair use are meant to support digital learning. Parameters can be met if teachers are trained on the things you can do instead of the things you can't do. Teachers' lack of knowledge about copyright and fair use affects the quality of teaching and learning. In conclusion, at the heart of the copyright law, it is designed to protect critical thinking, creative expression, spread of knowledge. The sharing of information has been repeated for many years, and it is important to give credit to where credit is due. The resources at our fingertips, and it is our responsibility to use them fairly. Thank you.